You won't believe this, what really happened inside Hollywood's golden walls. 15 stars. Gone too soon, in ways so mysterious that decades later the answers remain buried. The public was handed neat headlines: overdose, accident, suicide. But scratch the surface, and those stories fall apart. Witness accounts don't match. Evidence disappears, and the silence of Hollywood's most powerful names only fuels suspicion. These weren't just deaths. They were cover-ups. Tragedies wrapped in secrets the industry never wanted us to question. And tonight, we pull back that curtain. From Marilyn Monroe's final hours to River Phoenix's collapse on Sunset Boulevard, here are 15 Hollywood deaths that were never explained. Stay until the very end, because the last name on this list will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about Hollywood. 1. Marilyn Monroe. On August 5, 1962, the world awoke to the news that Marilyn Monroe, the most famous woman alive, had been found dead in her Brentwood home. The coroner called it an overdose. The papers printed it without question. But almost immediately, nothing made sense. Her housekeeper changed her story more than once. Friends said Marilyn had sounded upbeat the day before, with projects still in motion. Police noted inconsistencies about when the body was discovered, and crucial phone logs from that night mysteriously disappeared. Then came the whispers. Connections to the president, to the attorney general, to secrets she may have carried that could have shaken Washington itself. Some claimed she was silenced before she could speak. Was it suicide, an accident, or a cover-up? To protect the powerful. 60 years later, the questions remain unanswered. 2. Natalie Wood. In November 1981, actress Natalie Wood set sail off Catalina Island with her husband Robert Wagner, actor Christopher Walken, and a yacht captain. By morning, Natalie's body was floating in the Pacific. The official story was simple: accidental drowning. But bruises on her arms, conflicting witness statements, and hours of delay before a distress call was made left investigators uneasy. Neighbors on shore reported hearing screams that night. Wagner and Walken gave different accounts of what happened after an argument, and the captain later claimed Wagner had discouraged him from raising the alarm sooner. Decades later, the case was reopened and reclassified as suspicious. Natalie's death certificate was amended, but no charges were ever filed. The truth about that night on the water remains locked between 3 men and 1 woman who never came home. 3. Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee was the definition of invincible. At 32, he was rewriting martial arts cinema and building a global legacy. Yet on July 20th, 1973, he collapsed in Hong Kong after taking what doctors said was a common painkiller. He never got back up. The official verdict? Cerebral edema from a bad drug reaction. But millions struggled to accept it. How could a man in peak condition simply drop dead from a pill? Rumors exploded. Some blamed the Lee family curse. Others pointed to triad gangsters who resented his influence. Even rival studios were whispered about. No matter the theory, the facts didn't sit right. One of the fittest men alive gone in an instant, without a satisfying explanation. Half a century later, Bruce Lee's death is still a riddle Hollywood has never solved. 4. Brandon Lee. Tragedy struck the Lee family twice. On March 31st, 1993, Bruce's son Brandon was filming The Crow, the movie that was set to launch him into superstardom. During a scene, a prop gun was fired. Instead of a blank, a real fragment of a bullet lodged in the barrel struck Brandon in the abdomen. He was pronounced dead hours later. It was ruled an accident, negligence, and weapon handling on set, but fans couldn't ignore the eerie parallels. Bruce Lee's final movie was Game of Death, where his character is shot during filming. Brandon, 2 decades later, died almost the same way. Was it coincidence or fate? The family called it a tragedy. Conspiracy theorists called it a curse. Either way, 2 generations of Lee brilliance were lost, each under circumstances that still raise uneasy questions. And then 5. James Dean. September 30th, 1955. James Dean, only 24 years old, with just 3 films to his name, driving his silver Porsche 550 Spider when tragedy struck. A collision on a California highway ended his life instantly. It should have been a closed case, a reckless accident, nothing more. Yet the legend didn't stop there. Dean's car, nicknamed the Little Bastard, went on to injure and even kill several others who came into contact with its wreckage. Mechanics crushed under its parts. collectors who suffered freak accidents, museums that burned after displaying it. The stories turned Dean's death into more than a crash into the myth of a cursed car. Was it all coincidence, or did the vehicle carry something darker? To this day, the whereabouts of the Porsche remain uncertain, as if the curse itself wanted to stay alive. 6. Thelma Todd, December 1935. Thelma Todd, the sparkling ice cream blonde of 1930s comedy, was found lifeless in her car, parked inside a garage above her cafe on the Pacific Coast Highway. The coroner listed carbon monoxide poisoning. But the scene was strange. Todd was still dressed in an evening gown and high heels, as if she never intended to spend the night there. Friends swore she had been cheerful just hours earlier at a party. And then there were her rumored connections to studio bosses, to the mob, and to dangerous men who might have wanted her silenced. Some believed it was suicide, others whispered of a setup, with Todd already dead before being placed in the garage. The official record closed the case. Hollywood never did. 7. George Reeves. In the 1950s, children across America believed in a hero Superman, and the man in the cape was George Reeves. But on June 16, 1959, Reeves was found dead in his Los Angeles bedroom with a bullet wound to the head. Police said it was suicide, but the evidence didn't sit right. The gun carried no fingerprints. Guests were in the house at the time, yet claimed they heard nothing. Reeves had been planning his wedding and discussing new projects only days before. Theories swirled. A crime of passion? A Hollywood cover-up? Or something even darker? Reeves had played a man of steel, but his real-life ending was fragile, suspicious, and unresolved. 8. Brittany Murphy. Brittany Murphy was the kind of actress audiences adored: quirky, vulnerable, endlessly watchable. But on December 20th, 2009, she collapsed in her Hollywood Hills home and never woke up. At just 32, her official cause of death was pneumonia combined with anemia. Then 5 months later, her husband Simon Monjack died in the same house with eerily similar symptoms. Theories exploded. Was the home poisoned by toxic mold? Were they victims of deliberate poisoning? Or was it simply a cruel coincidence? Murphy's father later insisted toxic metals were found in her system, fueling suspicions. Yet authorities dismissed foul play. Fans never did. 2 lives, 1 home, 1 unsolved mystery that continues to cast a shadow over Hollywood. 9. Heath Ledger. In January 2008, the world was stunned. Heath Ledger, at just 28, was found dead in his New York apartment. The coroner blamed an accidental overdose of prescription pills. But to those who knew him, the explanation felt incomplete. Ledger was at the peak of his career, fresh off filming The Dark Knight. Friends described him as excited for upcoming projects, not spiraling downward. Some pointed to the intensity of his Joker role, which reportedly left him restless and sleepless. Others believed the toxic mix of medications was unusual enough to raise suspicion. No matter the theory, Hollywood lost one of its brightest young talents far too soon with questions that never fully faded. 10. Anna Nicole Smith. Anna Nicole Smith lived her life in the spotlight: beauty queen, model, reality star, a woman whose every move was captured by cameras. But in February 2007, she was found unresponsive in a Florida hotel at age 39. The official cause: a lethal mix of prescription drugs. But the tragedy deepened when people remembered just months earlier, Anna Nicole's son, Daniel, had mysteriously died from a similar drug cocktail while visiting her in the hospital. Why 2 deaths so close together under such unusual circumstances? Why did reports suggest that evidence from Anna Nicole's room was tampered with before investigators arrived? Some called it a sad coincidence. Others whispered that powerful people had too much control over her life and perhaps her death. 11. David Carradine. David Carradine was no stranger to strange stories. The star of Kung Fu and Kill Bill was found in June 2009, lifeless, in a Bangkok hotel closet. His hands were tied, and the scene defied easy explanation. Police called it accidental asphyxiation, a tragic mishap. But many details didn't line up. Why was the security footage missing? Why did his family immediately reject the idea of an accident? And why did some claim Carradine had been investigating secret martial arts groups at the time? The official file closed quickly, but whispers never did. For fans, Carradine's death remains less about answers and more about unsettling questions. 12. Bob Crane. In the 1960s, Bob Crane was a household name, the smiling star of Hogan's Heroes. But in 1978, the public image shattered. Crane was discovered bludgeoned to death in his Arizona apartment, the walls splattered with blood. Suspicion fell on his close friend, John Carpenter, who was later tried for the crime. Yet without physical evidence, the jury could not convict. The case went cold, leaving more questions than answers. Adding to the intrigue, investigators uncovered Crane's secret life of videotaping his encounters, a revelation that shocked fans and gave police a long list of possible enemies. Decades later, Crane's murder remains officially unsolved, a chilling reminder that even the most beloved television star could hide shadows behind the laughter. 13. Jean Harlow. The 1930s had its goddess of glamour, Jean Harlow, the blonde bombshell. But at only 26, she collapsed suddenly and never recovered. Doctors blamed kidney failure, but the speed of her decline left fans stunned. Rumors spread immediately. Some whispered about abusive relationships. Others claimed her studio orchestrated a cover-up to protect her golden image. Friends insisted she had shown no signs of serious illness just days earlier. Was it natural causes? Or was the truth concealed? Nearly a century later, Jean Harlow's untimely end still haunts Hollywood history, a life cut short with no satisfying explanation. 14. Dorothy Dandridge. Dorothy Dandridge broke barriers. She was the first black woman nominated for an Academy Award, a symbol of elegance and resilience. But in September 1965, she was found dead in her apartment at only 42. The coroner listed an overdose of antidepressants, yet those closest to Dorothy insisted she had been planning a comeback, not an exit. She was preparing new projects, speaking with optimism, and seemed determined to reclaim her place in Hollywood. So why did her life end so suddenly? Was it a tragic accident, or did unseen pressures and forces pull her down? The official record says one thing. The legacy of Dorothy Dandridge suggests another. 15. River Phoenix. Halloween night, 1993. River Phoenix, hailed as the James Dean of his generation, collapsed on the sidewalk outside the Viper Room nightclub on Sunset Boulevard. He was just 23. The autopsy blamed a drug overdose, but the chaos of that night told a murkier story. Witnesses disagreed on what River had taken and where. Security footage was never released. Even paramedics described details that didn't quite match the official account. What happened in those final minutes inside the club? Was River Phoenix simply another young star lost to excess? Or was there something more that Hollywood never wanted revealed? 3 decades later, fans still replay that night, searching for answers that may never come. 15 stars, 15 deaths, 15 stories that don't add up. Hollywood offered clean explanations: accidents, overdoses, suicides. But when you look closer, those answers collapse. Because in this city of lights, secrets are currency, and sometimes the truth is worth killing for. Now I'll leave you with this. Do you believe these were coincidences, or has Hollywood been hiding something far darker all along?